Chapter 1. The Colons. Scene 1. Meeting Delilah. The white pillared mansion on the edge of the Jenkins woods displayed the Colon family's success. It housed a large dining room, a breakfast eating area in the large kitchen, a family room, a living room, an office, a recreation room, and 7 bedrooms, each with a bathroom and a walk-in closet. It was the admiration of everyone who saw it. It impressed, thus befitted council member Ethan Colon. Wealth, power, and position had adorned the family for almost 200 years. From one generation to the next, they had been passing on a seat on the Christian council to the firstborn. It was an entitlement that Ethan Colon had expected and, in the natural course of time, had received. He basked in both the admiration and the fear of his authority. Physically, he also had the image that fit his position, handsome with dark, wavy hair and a muscular 6'2" frame. The perfect picture of the Colon line, hard and beautiful. The Colon line had always held sway over their Christian brethren. The Colons were also the last line of the founding fathers of Lord's bounty who knew a dark secret. As the other line of overseers of the secret died out, Ethan Colon became the sole guardian. Mrs. Esther Colon, a strikingly beautiful blonde, was thin but strong, physically and, on occasion, emotionally. Being the firstborn, Elijah had by default been Mr. and Mrs. Colon's favorite. For 5 years, there had been no competition. From the beginning, Elijah was pampered and given a long leash. It didn't take long before he knew it and took full advantage of its length. But he would soon feel it shrinking and tightening. "Daddy, why is Mommy getting so fat?" "She's not getting fat." "Then why is her belly swelling?" "She's pregnant. She's going to have a baby." "That's where you came from. She got big before you were born. Then you came out of her belly and grew, and now 5 years later you are this." With palms up, he gestured at Elijah. "Then I'm not going to be the only one. No, there will be another child who will grow like you grew, and we will love him or her like we love you. But I will still be your favorite, right? You will both be our favorite. You were just our first favorite, and we will love you the same." In response, Elijah grew a pout that regrew each time he saw his mother. She noticed. Nonetheless, she tried to include him in the upcoming event. "Would you like to touch Mommy's belly and feel the baby kicking?" He scowled, turned, and walked away. She worried that he would not accept the new child, but his father said he would get used to it. He would adjust. After Delilah was born, there was no acceptance. He avoided Delilah as much as he could. Finally, his mother had had enough. She called Elijah to Delilah's bedroom, a delightfully colored room with painted clouds and Christ in a manger. When his mother heard Elijah tromping up the stairs, she invitingly tried to get his attention. Ignoring his mother, Elijah gave a passing glare, continuing on his way to his room. "Elijah, come in here." She added an emphatic "now." Elijah spun back toward the baby's room with a securely fastened grimace. He stomped into the room, making no effort to hide his feelings. "Come over here. I want you to touch Delilah. She won't hurt you." He touched her, turned away, and took a step toward the door. "Come back here." He turned back. "Now put your finger in the palm of her hand, and you'll see how much she loves you." He did. Delilah grasped his finger and squeezed. "See how much she loves you." Elijah wrapped his hand around Delilah's hand and squeezed. Delilah wailed. Esther shouted, "Elijah, stop that." She slapped his hand away. "Why did you do that?" He responded with a glare at his mother and a black glare at Delilah. "Go to your room and stay there. Your father will be coming up to see you when he gets home." Elijah continued to respond with a deep, dark glare. "Go, now." Elijah stamped to his room. He slammed the door. A picture of Delilah in her room slipped off center. Esther could no longer deny to herself that there was something amiss with Elijah. He had been a delightful child until now. What's wrong with that boy? She paused. This is too much. It's time for his father to have a serious talk with him. Scene 2. Ethan confronts Elijah. Ethan walked through the front door and came to a sudden stop. Boiling mad, Esther was standing directly in front of him. "What's wrong?" "Your son." "You mean our son? Today he's yours." "What did he do?" "He hurt Delilah." "He probably didn't mean to." "No, I saw him. He did it on purpose." He squeezed her hand so hard that she yelled and cried. Where is he? In his room. Ethan quickly went upstairs. He quickly came back down. He's not there. I told him to stay there until you came home. Well, he's not there. Maybe he's playing out back. With Esther a few steps behind, Ethan walked into the backyard. Elijah was in the pool. Get out, dry off, and come inside. Portraying innocence, Elijah asked, What did I do? Just get inside now. Ethan walked back into the house. Elijah slowly dried off and slowly sauntered toward the house. Irate, Ethan stormed to the patio door. Get in here immediately. Elijah trudged to him. Get into my office. I'll be there in a minute. What did I do? Just get into my office. Reluctantly, Elijah obeyed. Elijah walked around the office, moving items and running his finger along a shelf of the bookcase. The door opened, and Ethan walked to his desk. You need Rita to dust the shelves, Elijah said childishly, trying to assert dominance. What? The shelves are filthy. With his fire igniting, Ethan ordered, Get over here and sit. Ethan pointed to a chair in front of the desk. As Elijah sat, Ethan walked to the front of his desk, leaned back against it, and folded his arms across his chest. I'm truly ashamed of you. What did I do? You hurt Delilah. I barely touched her. So your mother is lying? Elijah didn't respond. She's not lying, is she? I don't know. Did you squeeze Delilah's hand? Mom told me to, but it wasn't hard. Soft. But she cried anyway. She was just being what? A little baby? She's a little baby. She's a girl. They cry at the littlest things. Oh, but I didn't cry when people squeezed my hand when I was a baby because I was a boy. Boys are tougher. Nobody squeezed your hand hard when you were a baby. Still, I wouldn't cry if they did. If she were a boy, he wouldn't have cried because boys are stronger and smarter. The pastor said we're smarter and stronger. That's why we are in charge of women. Let me make this crystal clear. Don't you ever hurt Delilah again. I haven't had to spank you, but if you do anything like that again, I'll give you a spanking and I guarantee you will cry. Do you understand? Yes, he answered reluctantly. Say it like you mean it. Otherwise, I start the spanking in 1 minute. Powered only by fear, he said yes as sincerely as he could. Elijah stood, turned, took a step, and turned back. But I'm still your favorite, right? Because Mommy says she loves Delilah as much as me. That's what your mom feels, not me. So, I'm your favorite? Not today. Now go to your room and think about what I said. Elijah did think about it, and he concluded he was more important to his father than to his inferior sister. Scene 3. Ethan versus Delilah. Delilah walked the mile from her school, Faith Elementary Christian School for girls, to Elijah's school, Galilee Christian Junior High School for boys. Ahead, she spotted her brother and 5 of his friends. She hurried toward them. With a soccer ball under his arm and 5 8th-grade friends walking with him, Elijah could hear the rapid slap of shoes approaching from behind. Where are you going? Delilah asked sheepishly. What does it look like? Nate, Elijah's friend, said, pointing to the soccer ball. We're going to play soccer, little girl, Nate said demeaningly. With a dark look, Elijah harshly said, Go to the swings. There are no swings here. From Ryan's well-honed 8th-grade mind, cruelty is seen as prowess. But there are at your school. Cyrus looked over his shoulder, then turned back. With a snicker, he asked, Does she follow you everywhere? Elijah spun around. With a stern glare, he commanded, Stop following us. But I'm all alone, and I'm scared. Mimicking a whining toddler, Nate said, Oh, I'm scared. Weep, weep, little baby. In a guttural voice, Ryan added, You should be scared. There are giant crawling creatures living under the grass, just waiting for little weepy girls to walk by. Then, bam, he slapped his hands together. They'll pounce on you. Cyrus deepened the terror. Yeah, and they'll drag you underground and down through a tunnel. Aaron fell in line with the attack. Imitating a devilish voice, he said, And you'll have to live underground for the rest of your life. Lucas added a final touch. Unless they eat you up. Delilah shuddered. Tears joined her fear. Not to be outdone and deemed to be weak, Elijah happily added, Look, the baby's crying. Boo-hoo. Laughing derisively, the boys continued to the soccer field. Delilah continued to follow. I said go. No, You're my brother, and Mom says big brothers are supposed to look after little sisters. Look, guys, just ignore her. Who cares where she waits? Let's go, Ryan said and ran. The others were pulled along. No matter how fast Delilah ran, the distance grew. She stopped, stood and cried for a moment, and then, with tears flowing down her cheeks, walked to the soccer field, feeling more lonely with each step, despite getting closer to the boys. For 30 minutes, she sat on the sideline, watching and wishing for a better brother. When she glimpsed the family limousine coming to pick her and Elijah up at the front of the school, she rose and ran to it, saying nothing to Elijah. The door was open, waiting for her. She slid in and shut the door. Where's Elijah? Elliot, today's driver, asked. Playing soccer. Did you tell him that I'm here? He doesn't want to be bothered. Should I wait? He'd rather play soccer than be bothered. So, is someone else going to pick him up? I don't know. He doesn't want to be bothered. He'd rather play soccer. I want to go home now. Okay, Elliot hesitantly said and drove out of the parking lot. As Elliot drove past the soccer field, Nate asked, Is that your car? Elijah was taking his turn as goalie. He turned toward the street. The ball struck him on the side of his head, making a low boom. He stumbled backwards, legs churning and arms flailing, to find his balance. He failed. His bottom contacted the grass, his head jerked back and contacted the net post, which answered with a metallic thunk. He raised up just in time to see Delilah looking out the rear window, waving goodbye. Guess you underestimated her this time, Cyrus said with a laugh. Outsmarted by a kindergartner, Ryan said. Elijah jerked his head toward Ryan. Shut up, Ryan. Elijah snarled as he stepped toward him. With his hands raised to his chest to surrender, Ryan paid deference to Elijah's power. Okay. That was a common response when Elijah confronted students. All Elijah's friends, and most everyone else at school, showed deference to Elijah. He expected it, and he got it. Mumbling, I'll get her. She'll regret this. Elijah stormed over to his gym bag, sitting on the sideline. He rummaged around in it. Damn it. Where's my change? Elijah shouted. Maybe she took it, Nate said. Turning his back to Elijah, Cyrus whispered to Ryan, She's as treacherous as he is. Nobody's that treacherous. Be quiet. Here he comes. Handing him change for the phone, Lucas said here. Elijah walked to the bleachers where there were 3 pay phones. He called home. Elijah was told they would send the driver back as soon as he dropped off Delilah. Rolling through Elijah's thoughts was one word, revenge. Then his father's warning, don't you ever hurt Delilah again, dissolved the notion. To salvage his pride, as he approached his friends, he professed, I'll get her for this. A simple lie, but an unprovable one. Scene 4. Payback. Elijah burst through the front door, his eyes immediately scanning for Delilah. He heard her voice. She's in the kitchen. He charged into the kitchen, snorting like a raging bull. You little... Alarmed, his mother asked, What's wrong with you? She left. She didn't tell me the car had arrived. Weren't you watching her? You were supposed to be watching her. I was. She just left without saying anything. Didn't you notice she was gone? Well, I was playing soccer. Did you ever check to see if she was okay? There wasn't anyone around to hurt her. That wasn't my question. Did you check on her? Sure, but I didn't watch her every second. Did you have her sit where you could keep an eye on her? Yes, but you didn't notice she was gone? How often did you check on her? Every once in a while. What was that? 2 minutes. 5 minutes. 15 minutes. Elijah was fighting the pressure, which was leading to an explosion. I don't remember, he said, glaring. So you didn't? He exploded. Why do I have to watch her? She's always getting in the way. I can't go anywhere without her tagging along. Nobody else has to watch their little sister. Why should I? Elijah, you'd better change that attitude, or I'll have you picked up immediately after school. That means no soccer. That's not fair. You're allowed to play soccer after school because you're watching your sister. If you don't want to watch your sister, that's fine. But you won't be able to stay after school. Elijah huffed and pouted. Elijah, do you think Delilah wants to wait around after school so you can play soccer? She has things she would rather do, but she waits for you. So what do you want to do? Okay, he said angrily. If she comes home and tells me that you have been mean or insulting or your friends have, I can't control them. Just tell them to stop. I bet they will. Okay, he said sharply. Watch it. Be a good big brother. Your sister needs you to be. She needs your protection. Calmly, while professing sincerity, he said, Yes, ma'am. Elijah steamed for a week before he calmed down even a little. He never stopped blaming his sister for the degrading task of watching her, although he did it quietly. Tending to a little sister was beneath him. He was a male, and as he thought, the Bible indicates repeatedly, he was superior to all females, especially his sister, and her felt, but even his mother. One thought remained at the front of his mind. Someday I'll be in charge of this family. I'll be on the council, and people will do what I want them to do. Delilah will see who is in charge. She'll do what I say or else. With a mocking whine, he said, Mommy won't be able to protect her. I'll tell Mommy what to do. Nobody will tell me what to do. They'll see. They'll all see. Scene 5. It's the little things. Elijah's approach to Delilah made a quick switch to the time-tested passive-aggressive sarcasm. It took a year before Delilah realized what he was doing because, in comparison, sarcasm was an improvement. When she caught on, her reaction was to do little things to annoy him. She would hide things from him like his favorite pen, move things around in his room, push the button on his doorknob, and close the door, locking him out. She delighted hearing him searching his room, saying, Where's my, and who locked my door? She would take his soccer ball and leave it outside. She rejoiced every time his face sported a confused expression and was especially thrilled every time his mother or father would say, Elijah, you left your soccer ball outside again. One of her favorite routines was letting a little air out of the ball several days in a row, so he would have to pump it up. After doing that several times, he would search for a non-existent leak. He even dunked it in a pool to see from where the ball was leaking. While he was puzzled, she was smiling. After a few weeks of this, he, for the first time, looked to Delilah as the culprit, but then determined it wasn't possible. Nah, she wouldn't have the guts to do it. She knows what would happen if she did. But there was no one else to blame. In the face of parental retribution, he swallowed his suspicion. Suddenly, Delilah's antagonism stopped. She had drained all the pleasure she could get from it, but she still fondly remembered the distress it had caused him. For the next 3 years, their mother had to arbitrate to keep Elijah's hostility in check. He came to rely on his father to bolster his confidence, which, unwittingly, bolstered his arrogance. Their bond strengthened. Elijah bathed in his father's pride in him. He felt empowered. Scene 6. Delightful Bethany. Mrs. Colon began to grow around the middle again, this time with Bethany, who restlessly roamed inside her womb, but with soothing pressure. Esther's pregnancy with Bethany was easier than it had been with Elijah and Delilah. On one visit, when the doctor asked Mrs. Colon how she was doing, she responded, The baby is being very considerate. She moves a lot, but she is very gentle, so it's got to be a girl. Instead of a grimace of pain, she puts a smile on my face every morning. When Esther's water broke, she called for an ambulance, waited at the front door for the ambulance to drive up, and walked down the steps and to the curb. She was taken to the hospital, experiencing only moderate contraction pains. Only once in the delivery room did the contractions become strong, but they were never painful as they were with Elijah and Delilah. After the birth, Esther commented to her doctor. It was like Bethany said, I'm ready now, so open the door and I'll come out and introduce myself. And she just slipped out. As she thought back about the birth of Delilah and Elijah, she saw both births as a battle. Delilah had caused constant distress and morning sickness. Elijah had brought severe back pain and painful contractions. About Elijah, she told a friend, It was like he was angry at me. It felt like he was chewing his way out. And once out, he bellowed and flailed as if he were trying to strike everyone within reach. When Esther told Ethan, he thought, Great. He's a fighter. Elijah demanded constant attention and wailed day and night, wearing Esther down to the nubs. Regardless of the degree of attention, it was never enough. He never smiled or laughed, even when tickled. He wore a permanent frown. His angry expression became perpetual. The first day in kindergarten, his mother walked him into his class. He held her hand tightly, walking as close to her as he could. She stayed for an hour. She did the same the second day. On the way to the classroom the third day, they passed a group of 4 second-grade boys who muttered, "Here comes another mommy's boy." Elijah felt it as a personal attack. It was but every kindergarten boy whose mother walked her son to the classroom received the insult. On the 4th day, Elijah met the insult with a glare. On the 5th day, the same group of 4 were at their roost, waiting. Elijah's mother hadn't escorted him. The boys were lined up outside the kindergarten playground wall waiting for Elijah to walk toward them. A boy in a white shirt and black pants stepped away from the group. "Where's your mommy, little boy?" "Sorry, I mean little baby." They all laughed. Elijah stopped and turned toward the boy. The boy stiffened his face and moved toward Elijah. When the boy was a few feet away, Elijah took 2 quick steps and swung, striking the boy on his nose and cheek. The boy stumbled backwards, falling on his back in front of the group. The boy on the ground was crying. The remaining boys were stunned into silence. With his fists tightly clenched, Elijah took a step, cocked his leg, and kicked the boy's side. The boy scrambled backwards, rose, and ran. Elijah tightened his fists, his knuckles turning white. He took another step. The remaining boys backed away, fearfully, and left. Inside the wall, Elijah's classmates surrounded him and instantly became his friend, and he, their unquestioned leader. The next day, the group of boys were absent and remained away from the kindergarten area. Elijah would now loosen himself from his mother and fasten himself to his father. Unlike Elijah, Delilah was not aggressive, but she was very emotional. She cried a lot. She wanted to be held constantly and would cry until she was. She rarely smiled, and her laughs were short spitting bursts. As soon as she could walk steadily, she followed Elijah around attempting to get him to play with her. He refused. She cried. He called her a baby. Their mother would arbitrate. She would buy more toys for Delilah, hoping she would bother Elijah less. That worked for a couple of days, but then the pattern would repeat. However, from the first day, Bethany was a treasure. She slept through the night. Her smile was full, her giggle infectious. Although Esther wouldn't openly admit it, she loved holding Bethany more than the others. As she told friends, "I swear each time I do something for her, she smiles, as if saying thank you." One of my favorite things is she loves to be tickled. She giggles delightfully. I know this sounds crazy, but I feel she appreciates every moment with me. She's very special. Not that the others aren't, of course. They're special in their own way. Scene 7. You love her more. When Delilah walked into the den, Esther was sitting with a broad smile on her face and Bethany sleeping on her mother's lap, her thumb in her mouth and her arms wrapped around her mother's arm, holding her. Delilah stopped suddenly inside the door. She glared at the loving scene and walked over to her mother. "Mommy, I'm hungry. Can you cut up an apple for me?" Delilah said loudly. "Shoo, quiet, sweetheart. I can't do it right now. Bethany's asleep. I'll do it when she wakes up. I want the apple now." She pouted. "Sweetheart, please be quiet or you'll wake her." Delilah reached her hand out and pushed Bethany. "Delilah, stop that." Bethany stirred. Her eyes opened, and she yawned. "She's awake now." "Delilah, that was not nice to do. But I want an apple. You could have waited." Bethany never has to wait. She wants something. She gets it right away. That's because she's still a baby, and she can't do things for herself. She must get help. I did the same thing for you when you were a baby. You did a lot more for her than me. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You love her more than me, Delilah argued. Delilah grabbed Bethany's arm and pulled. Bethany let out a cry. Esther slapped Delilah's hand. Delilah held firm. Esther unwrapped Delilah's fingers from Bethany's arm. "Delilah, no, you're hurting her." Delilah's finger marks wrapped around Bethany's arm. "So what? She hurts me all the time. That's ridiculous." "But she does. She scratches me." She hesitated, then loudly added, "She bit me." "When did that happen?" "Just the other day." "Show me where she scratched you and where she bit you." "No, I hate her, and I hate you. You're a mean mommy." Delilah. Delilah turned away, paused, and quickly twisted back. And Elijah gets to do whatever he wants. He's mean to me too. I hate him too. You're all mean. Nobody cares about me. Delilah spun around. Delilah, that's not true. I love you as much as I do them, Esther said as Delilah ran out of the room crying. Delilah had heard only a few words. Carrying Bethany, Esther went to Delilah's room and opened the door. As soon as Delilah saw Bethany, she said, "Get her out of here. This is my room. She can't come in my room, ever." Esther gave Delilah half an hour to cool down. She put Bethany in her playpen, told the housekeeper Rita to check on her, and went to Delilah. Although Esther said all the right mommy things, she could tell that Delilah believed none of them. Scene 8. Christmas Battle. On a Christmas morning, 5 years after Bethany's birth, Esther had reached her limit with Delilah. The family was gathered around the 10-foot tree, whose limbs stretched over an abundance of presents. As had become his practice, Elijah plunged into the pile, carelessly pushing presents aside as he gathered his treasure and stacked them up behind him. Delilah followed his pattern, but Elijah wedged her away to retrieve his own. Quietly sitting next to her mother watching was Bethany, a beautiful child whose perky personality, delicate features, pale skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair endeared her to everyone at first sight. It was one of the things which ate at Delilah's sense of belonging and self-worth. "Mom, Elijah is being mean. He won't let me get my presents," Delilah complained. "Elijah, let Delilah get her presents." Bethany squeezed her mother's arm, her sign that she was confused or had a question. "What is it, dear? Why does Elijah push Delilah all the time?" "It's mean." "Yes, it is, but he's a boy, and they're like that," Esther said. Ethan added, "They're just showing their strength, their power. It's natural." Bethany gave her father a perplexed look. Semi-jokingly, he said, "That's the way the world is, so you better get used to it." Still puzzled, Bethany turned her head toward her mother, who shrugged. Elijah muttered, "It's not my fault she's always getting hurt. I always have to treat her like she's made out of glass. Don't hurt the precious little girl." Esther responded, "That's right, Elijah. She's just a girl. You're bigger and stronger than her." The comment was Esther's attempt to breathe some understanding and compassion onto Elijah. He left it unattended. She knew he would. Still, she had to say it. "It's not my fault girls are weak and stupid. If they don't want to get hurt, they should stay out of the way." Ethan leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and chortled. Bethany quietly asked, "Mommy, why does Elijah hate girls?" Elijah swung his head toward Esther and Bethany. "I'll tell you why. Girls are weak, always crying over the littlest things like Delilah does. They're stupid. They get in the way. They should know their place and stay in it." Surprised, Esther snapped, "Elijah, where did you hear that?" Ethan chortled again. Elijah smiled at his father. "In Bible study last week. It's in Corinthians. It says that women should keep quiet in churches. They should be subordinate." Ethan completed and chuckled. "Girls shouldn't even go to school. They should learn from their husbands and speak only when spoken to." Ethan looked at Esther and joked, "The boy has a point on the last one." "Ethan, stop it. I just couldn't resist." He turned to Elijah. "Don't believe everything you're told, but it's in the Bible, and we have to obey the Bible." Ethan got nervous. "Elijah, listen carefully. The things we say in this house stay in this house. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." Bethany asked, "Why was Daddy laughing?" "He was just having a little joke." "I don't understand." "You will later when you are older." After the chaos calmed, Bethany went to the remaining presents and moved them toward her mother. Bethany began to open them, carefully trying not to damage the wrapping paper. "Don't worry about the wrapping paper, Bethany." "But it's so pretty. I don't want to tear it. I want to keep it." "Okay, sweetheart," her mother said, smiling tenderly at Bethany's unique perception. Delilah came back to the tree and moved her presents to the side and sat next to them. Elijah was deep into opening his presents and either beaming or scowling as he measured his pleasure with each one. Delilah opened a present, looked at Elijah's present and his smile, and then at Bethany's present and her joy. As the presents were exposed, Delilah continued to look at Elijah's and Bethany's presents and then at her presents. Delilah, if you keep pouting and scowling, they might become permanent, her mother said. Delilah shifted her scowl to her mother. Delilah, that's enough of that. You did the same thing last Christmas. Now stop. Delilah rose, kicked one present after another until Ethan pulled her away. What are you doing? They got better presents than I did. They always get better presents every Christmas, she bawled. Delilah, we spend the same amount on each of you, her mother shot back. We use your list to get your presents. That's a lie. Delilah bent and picked up a box of art supplies. I didn't want this. She threw it under the tree, sending 2 Christmas balls rolling toward Esther. Bethany reached out and touched Delilah's arm. Delilah, we can trade. Or you can have some of my presents. Just take the ones you want. Give me the presents you don't want. What if I want all of them? Take all of them. Esther looked with amazement at Bethany. She smiled. Ethan had a perplexed expression. Elijah quietly muttered, "Stupid girls. They don't have one good brain between them. I really don't need any of them." Really, Bethany said. Delilah shot back. I don't want any of your stupid presents. They're for little babies. Esther frowned at Delilah and said, Then we'll take your presents back. And you'll get nothing, Ethan added. Now, go to your room. And if you break anything, we'll take all of toys and games and give them to someone who will appreciate them. I hate all of you, Delilah cried. Big deal, Elijah said. You say you hate everyone all the time. Delilah sent a fierce glare to Elijah. I hate you. See what I mean? If you hate all of us, why don't you leave? Elijah, that's uncalled for, Esther scolded. Delilah, we don't want you to leave. We all love you, Esther said. No, you don't. Ethan stood. That is quite enough, little girl. One more word and you'll get nothing next Christmas. Fine, I don't want anything from any of you. Bethany rose, walked over to Delilah, looked up at her with tears in her eyes, and said, Please don't leave. Please. I love you. Please stay. Shut up. You're one of the reasons I want to leave. Under his breath, Elijah said, What an idiot. She probably has to set an alarm to remind herself to breathe. Bethany cried softly and took hold of Delilah's hand. I'm sorry. I'll do better. Just don't leave. Delilah yanked her hand away and ran up the stairs. With Esther right behind, Bethany went to the bottom of the stairs and pleaded, Please don't leave. Esther hugged Bethany. Sweetheart, she's not going to leave. She's just angry. She does love us. She's just upset. Really? Yes. Just give her some time to come around. After waiting several minutes, Bethany went to Delilah's room. As soon as Bethany entered the room, Delilah suspiciously asked, Why are you being so nice all the time? You're my sister, Dee, and I love you. Well, I'm not going to give you anything, so if you want some of my stuff, you can't have it. I don't want anything. I just want to see you happy, Dee. Delilah's suspicion deepened. Why? Because you always look sad and angry. Mind your own business. Stop following me around. I don't want a little kid bothering me. Angrily, she added, Just stay away from me. She walked up to Bethany, stared down at her, and yelled, Leave me alone. I don't like you. Get lost now. As if the force of the words had slammed into her chest, Bethany stumbled backwards. She stared up at Delilah. Tears gathered in the corners of her eyes. I'm sorry. And stop calling me Dee. I hate that. But I thought. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Stop saying I'm sorry all the time. But I am. Just get away from me. The need for Bethany to comfort people began on that contentious Christmas day and became a consistent pattern. Bethany persistently tried to alleviate Delilah's pain. She would try to comfort her when she appeared sad. Bethany would ask if there was anything she could do for her. When she saw Delilah struggling with something, she would ask if she could help. Bethany's acts of kindness puzzled Delilah. It also annoyed and angered her. But Bethany had merely done what would become part of her character, amelioration. As it would turn out, it wouldn't be an unusual Christmas. But even after the hostilities, they would smile during the church service and, at dinner, sing Happy Birthday to Christ.